Chapter 11. Ito Crystals. Van number 4 unloaded at their Grand Bazaar base, and the twins busy modifying the display to their special video, and Cal ready for a good sleep when his terminal beeped from an unknown source. His first instinct was to ignore it. His second was that he needed credits, so he answered the call. "You don't know me," the strange face said. At least he was right about that. "We were told you have medical help and can trade for payment." Cal nodded into the camera. "2 serious injuries. My crew are tired." The connection was silent, the face looking away as though consulting. "We know no one else." "We'll wait. Send me details and I'll talk to my pilot and call you back." "Thank you greatly, friend." Cal went to find Mia and tell her. Her first question was, "You trust them?" Cal nodded, and together they made for the control room of the Stallion to wait for the coordinates, and when they came, Cal understood. Outer belt, quite close to where they had recently been. "We'll have to wait until the twins are finished. I'll go and hurry them up." Cal was left to tell those in the base about their new deal and the new job. "You're doing well, lad," Orbis said. "You keep doing deals like this and we'll have the huge fleet we need in months." Mr. Slee only smiled. On his way back to the ship, Cal loaded up a box of fresh fruit. Snacks for the trip, because he was sure it would take longer than expected. Then as he thought that, he added a second box. They could always bring it back. They took off while the new van was being swarmed by people all wanting to play with it and prepare it for tomorrow's work. 6 continuous hours of ether space, and Cal's head was aching and his ears ringing. Impossible to even snooze, let alone sleep. Even the twins sounded down as they entered orbit around the destination planet, and Cal called for landing details. Everyone heard the relief in the answering voice, and Mia set a very direct course down. Totally dark at the landing spot, Mia using scanners to try to find a safe place to settle. Then when they came closer, a ring of lights appeared pointing to the landing area. Carefully, Mia piloted the ship into the center of the ring of light. "Vehicle lights," Cal said from out the front viewport. "We'll do the freight ramp," Kira said. Cal was there too, all looking as a group of men carried 2 stretchers toward them. "Thanks for helping," someone called from the dark. The closer the group came, the worse the patients looked. Enough blood to say this was a very serious situation. "On the floor here," Cal said. "Let my women check." Mia was back now and looking at the patients, her face showing her distress. "Him first," she said. "Into the medic. We'll need his clothes off." The chosen man had other men around him, knives out and hacking at the injured man's clothes. "Payment," a man said toward Cal. "Not now," Cal said. "These men need help fast." "What happened?" "Mine explosion." "Any others?" "Not so bad." The first man's clothes were well split now, and there were many hands to lift him up from what was left while Mia pointed toward the auto medic. Cal heard the many beeps and alarms as he was assessed, then Mia came out to report. 2 days work now, then a week's rest, then another 2 days. The very urgent work is being done now to stabilize him, then we'll begin with the other patient. An hour with this man and he was taken to the spare room while the second man was carried into the medic. His image is very similar, but a little less urgent and still taking 2 periods of work. The group of his fellow workers were certainly happy to hear that he wouldn't die, and that did lighten the atmosphere a lot, with some offering to go and get family to tell them the news. That also brought one to broach the idea of payment again. "We understand this is very expensive work, and we also know that our friends would have certainly died if you had not come. The thing is, I feel bad for asking payment for things like this, but my loans never stop increasing. We're a mining area, and that's all we have. I know you have taken mining products before. Your suggestion?" 2 Ito crystals. Worth about $1 million each, if you can buy them. Of course we get nothing like that, since the Imperial system control Ito completely. I don't even know what Ito is. "1 in your ship." Well, maybe not now, but once it would have had a Ito crystal. It's the power for the most powerful of plasma cannons. Only the military are allowed to own them now. If you can find someone that wants one, you can name your price. Deal. You're too trusting. Only once, Cal said. But I trusted the people that told you about us, and if they trusted you, I felt you must be men I can trust too. That started a round of hand-grabbing and back-slapping. It seemed all the men had been listening to the deal-making. When Cal got the twins away from others and asked them about Ito crystals, the excitement on their face said more than their words. Real crystals in our hands, Kira said. We could control the whole universe with 2 of those, Kyra said, the girls looking at each other with huge smiles on their face. Well, before we take over the universe, we've got 2 patients to make better. But Cal couldn't keep the excitement from his own face either. Who didn't want a spaceship with a super powerful plasma cannon? Just after dawn and both patients were out of treatment and resting in the spare bedroom when the group of people waiting offered to take everyone for a visit through town. Cal chose to stay, while the women were keen to see a mining town close up. 3 hours of peace before the loud group of visitors returned. It seemed most of the town were all following close behind as the twins raced inside looking for the boxes of fresh fruit. Soon they were handing them out to the townspeople, all the time competing to say what each fruit was and how they liked eating it. Mia came to explain. These people only have the basic foods, and they're very expensive. Maybe we should set up a supply run here. They're good honest people. Ahead of you there. A large freighter doing a monthly trip around these mining planets with bases and some fresh. Perhaps a delivery van inside to shift the goods. All it takes is even more credits. But you'll do it, won't you? Next big project after our special one. What special one? The twins want a sister. Cal grinned, and even Mia smiled. What if they get a brother instead? Around noon, the 2 patients were returned to the medic, and after that, some of the other men who had more minor injuries were also given treatment. Cal was handed a battered old metal case and it was opened before him. 2 jet black crystals resting in pieces of dirty cloth. 8 smooth sides ending at perfect sharp points each end. Very pretty to look at, but the more Cal looked, the more he saw. When he first noticed the dark red color flick through his sight, he thought it was his imagination. The second time the color stayed longer, and by the third time he knew it had to be real, and his whole body began shaking. Not everyone can see the power, the man holding the case said softly. They have no respect. They feel alive, Cal said reverently. We say that too. Especially big ones like this. You find these in the ground like this. With these big ones, it's almost like they want us to find them. Those imperial people don't understand. To them, these are only a way of powering their weapons. That's why we keep ones this big well hidden. Touch one. Gingerly, Cal reached out his hand, the color on the crystal faces increasing the closer his finger came. When his fingertips touched, the spot was bright red. It responds well to you, the man said. We were right to offer it to you. Cal was hardly concentrating because the crystal was murmuring to him. You are doing good, it was saying. No one will stop you. Shaking his hand to try to shake off the feeling, Cal asked, is it safe to keep these close? For you, yes. The crystals like you and will want to stay close to you. Cal's mind was racing. So many thoughts, as if the crystal had unlocked something deep inside him. The one thought he could not shake was the idea that his dream of owning his own starship was only the first part of a much greater dream, and that extended dream was now in play. I think we better close that case, he said, feeling his whole body shake. That much power needs to be controlled. Wise words, the man holding the case said as he closed and locked the case before handing it to Cal. Crew alone at dusk. Cal got the crystal case from out of his wardrobe cabinet where he had it hidden, placing it on the bed and opening the top. Our payment. The women had heads close at first. They seem so sinister, Mia said. Dark and mysterious. Super powerful, Kira said. Such big crystals. We need one to make our plasma cannon work now, Kira said. No one said anything about any red color, even though Cal could see it clearly. I'm keeping them very secret until we find out exactly what we can do with them. Us assistant nurses will sleep in our room tonight, Kira said, more pressing matters now on their mind. And we promise we won't peep, Kira added, grinning. I think that's a good idea, Mia said. I'm feeling quite tired now, and think I should lay down to rest. We're gone, Kira said, both twins racing out the control room. Is my captain tired too? Mia said, trying to keep the grin from her face. Can we come in now? Kira's voice came from outside the control room, the dawn light filtering through the viewport. Yes, Mia said, and two girls raced in to jump up on the bed to join her and Cal. Cal would have preferred to stay cuddling, but really he couldn't complain. Well, another day of work then. You worked all night, Mia said playfully to him. I don't call that work. But there was work to be done outside, a line of people waiting patiently to be medic checked and the two serious patients to have their work continued. It was Cal's turn to get a town visit today. Again, nothing much to see that was new. He asked more questions about supplies for the town and learned how badly the people were treated. Even though mining was the base of the imperial regime, and everything they did was based out of a mine, miners were treated as the lowest form of life. Offered the lowest price for their products and charged the highest price for their supplies. Of course, there was the occasional miner that struck it rich, but most barely eked out a living in harsh and unforgiving conditions. The more he saw, the more fixed his ideas of his future came. The last of the patients were finished before dusk, but they stayed on the ground another night to rest before saying they would be back in a week to finish the treatments. The Stallion Book 2. The Base at Grand Bazaar. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.